Yes,
at
ma'am.
6:30. I'd like to recognize Sheriff Keith Clark. Nice to see you. Thank you for coming. I'm going to skip through rules of procedures or skip right by them. I'm asking if there are new additions other than the ones that I'd like to mention.
It's kind of moot now because the snow's gone, and I know I missed the meeting, but did we ever approve sections of town highway that the snowmobile club has posted for use?
Didn't we do that last year sometime?
Not for the
Okay, anyway, it's a question, it's a question we can ask Peter to check and put onto the agenda, but I
Yeah.
think, onto another agenda.
Yeah.
But, I think we did. Any other new?
I have one update. It's going to go under updates, and it is the Guilford Country Store liquor and tobacco license needed to be reviewed and signed by the select board.
I have 2 additions. I'm gonna be adding throughout this meeting a few comments of appreciation. So nothing formal, and then a second update is a CC4G award. And I'm gonna put that under updates after BBCC. Cause it seems to. So are there any changes to the agenda order? The next item of business is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of February 13th, 2017.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So while we're signing that, we have Sheriff Keith Clark here to discuss a proposed contract for the coming fiscal year, if I am correct. And also perhaps to review some of the crime statistics that Peter was asking you about.
So, you want to bring my chair up? Or do you want me to
You can
follow
bring your
across?
chair up and sit next to Dick if that's
Oh,
okay.
just pull this one over, Keith, right here. Just get comfortable.
Take an easy chair.
Not that I haven't been
So somehow you got to face it.
Well, thank you very much for having me. So I did send out, and I apologize, I did not bring a copy of the draft contract that I'd emailed to Peter, or emailed to someone a while back.
Yep, you emailed this to me.
Okay.
It was back in December, I believe.
Right. So, and those rates, that is still holds true. So, it's been over a year since the sheriff's office, since my office provided contract services to the town of Guilford. Someone contacted, I can't remember if it was Mr. Clark. Again, no relation, not that I'm aware of. And so I always point that out and say no last names. And so the rates are the information that Lieutenant Anderson emailed over to Peter were stats from our last full year here, not from last year because we
You're
weren't in
talking
town.
calendar year,
No,
I don't.
or because it hasn't been a full year since we started with Vermont State Police in July of 2016.
Right, so we did the year before that.
Yeah.
So is what we sent over. So just as a review, sheriff's offices in Vermont, we are not, for the most part, not funded via tax dollars. There is no county provision to pay for deputies on patrol. Even my salary doesn't come from the county, it comes from the state because I'm a constitutional officer of the state. So there's a very small budget that does come from the county. It has to pay for the bookkeeper in my office, an office clerk position, a part-time file clerk, pays for the building that I'm in, and a few other, like the heat, electricity, and the phones. But anything where it comes to deputies on patrol comes through contracts like what I've proposed for the town of Guilford. Some contracts are larger. The town of Vernon right now pays for us to be there 20 hours a day with coverage for the other call-outs if we need to get called out for that 4-hour gap in a day. Some towns have a 40-hour week position in town. Right now that's Westminster and Stratton. Jamaica is about 24 hours a week, I think, or 20 hours a week. So it varies. Then we have smaller towns, like the town of Athens, it's just a few hours a month. So it runs the gamut. It all depends on what the town thinks that it needs. So really what we are, with the exception of Vernon, is we provide a supplemental service to what the state police provide under your state tax dollars. They have a limited number of people spread across. They're now in one barracks out of Westminster. And they cover, I think, all the way up to mile marker 59 or 60 on 991, and as far west as Peru, all the way down to Halifax, and they even cover part of Reedsboro. So they're pretty spread out. So we try to provide a supplemental service to them through towns contracting with us. So that's a little background on how we operate. So when we were last here, so you can see that most of our focus in your town, I don't know, did you get a copy of this chart? I apologize.
In an email today, right, Peter? But
Yeah, I did not.
If you want to make a copy of
Sure.
this, I apologize, I didn't make copies. But what you'll see when you get that chart back is most of our focus was on traffic enforcement, speeding tickets. Trying to get, if you had complaints out here on School Street or or some of the other roads, that's where the deputies would focus. And often that would come through Dick or someone else in the select board, say, we've got complaints of speeders, and that's where we try to focus. And we'd vary the hours that the deputies were out there. And I think our last contract, it was about, it wasn't very much.
we had 8 hours a month.
8 hours a month, so it was a couple hours per week.
Mhm.
We tried to mix it up, some which you may see us forward. But the idea was try to put a presence in. We'd also come down if someone needed to have their VIN checked on their car. That doesn't sound like it's that important, but when people are trying to register their car, it's important that they get that VIN checked, because without it, they can't register their car. So, when you take a look at this, I think you'll see that, mine doesn't have the fancy line,
Oh, gosh, I thought that was everything.
If I fold mine in half, it's fine. So again, if you look to the right, it's the traffic stops. Yours probably, it's not color coded, but as you look from left to right, the short one where it says 16, that was for quarters 1 and 2 in fiscal year 15. And then it jumped up to the next line up, which is the 3rd and 4th quarters of FY 15. And then, so this is really a 2-year period. And then the one that has 42 above it, that was the 1st quarters of FY 16. And then our last 2 quarters here, FY 16, so it would have been, ending in June, it jumped to 57. So we were actually steadily increasing our presence and doing more traffic work when we basically ended the relationship. So as you look, VIN verifications were the next highest per number, and then all the way to the after were the agency assists. And I could break those down. Those may have been someone from the fire department called and want us to stand by at a call, or rescue did. It may have been someone from your constable looking for assistance on a dog complaint. So that agency assist could be a pretty broad. But the rest are all like 1s and 2s. It's like, if we happen to be in town and a call comes in, we would take that call, so the state police didn't have to send someone down. We try to stay away from the calls, particularly in small towns like yours, that are going to take up a lot of time. So if you had a couple of burglary complaints that take hours and hours to investigate and follow through, we would burn up your whole month of allocation with just one call. So I know at times it's a little frustrating when people in town call my office, say, can you investigate the burglary at my house or the break-in into my shop, when we then pass the call to the state police, because they have slightly more resources to do that. So that's why we do that. We're not trying to get out of doing that type of work, but your budget at the time, and I don't see it really changing in the near future, really doesn't support us doing that.
And that kind of call in for investigating a burglary would normally go to the state police anyway, and that's part of their routine work. So if they were doing it, we would still have the regular contract hours for other work.
Correct.
I'm understanding. Okay.
Correct. The other upside, particularly calls like that, where they tend to come in groups or rashes of them, is that they end up assigning it to basically someone in BCI, the Bureau of Criminal Investigations. And so you may have one here, there may be 2 in Vernon, there may be a couple in Brattleboro, Marlboro. they start looking at, do they have a similar MO, and then it helps them narrow down potential suspects. Where, if we investigate, then we have to forward the report, and it's just sometimes just a little easier on those bigger calls to let that happen. So again, our focus at the time was traffic enforcement, because that's what the town was telling us that
Yes.
they wanted, and I think we did a pretty good job doing
Yeah.
that. So one of the things, and I don't know, the email that we sent over the stat shows that we wrote, I think it was a total of about $8,800 in tickets for that period of time. Some of that money came back to the town. How much? I've given up guessing what the state sends back. There's supposed to be a formula. It never really makes sense what towns end up getting back. But a portion of it does come back to the town. It doesn't come to me. Doesn't go to some pool somewhere. It's supposed to come back to the town. It's supposed to be 60% of what's written, because they take money out for processing and some other things. So it does, that does help offset the cost of us being here. So yeah, it's the sheet that looks like this. It's in the email. And I'll leave this here. It shows during that period of time, it was almost $8,900. And so, and I didn't know if, that's really it in a nutshell, is we provide a supplemental service to the primary policing agency, which was the VSB. If usually in our contracts, it has a stipulation that says something to the effect of services at the request of the select board. So if you say, look, we've got this incident, we want you to respond or help us manage it, then we will do that under the contract.
If you were, say, one of your troopers is in town patrolman and a burglary comes in, and the call goes to your office, will you also respond to that as it goes to the state police?
We do,
Yes.
we do. We never, particularly if someone comes home and says, hey, I think someone, broke into my house, they may still be in there. We're not going to
You're not gonna do
delay.
that,
No, we'll still respond. We may take the initial complaint statement and pass it off to the state police. We're not gonna, if we're here or close to here, we'll respond. And we've always done that. Particularly around those life safety calls. If there's a traffic crash and we're here, we'll investigate the crash. We have the ability to do that. What you don't see in the is the supervisors. Often I got folks at court. I'm around. I've got a sergeant. For the most part, it's always on duty, day shift in Vernon. So if they needed that level of supervision, we have people close by that we can support and give them the deputies the support they need.
You're a 24-hour operation now.
We have a dispatch. We have someone on call 20. For the most part, we're out 18 to 20 hours a day, but there's always someone at my office that will answer the phone. Because not only do we dispatch for my office, we also dispatch for Bells Falls PD and Bennington County Sheriff's Office. So that helps support us being able to take those calls 24 hours a day.
I have a question. I think the last one of the
Can I ask a question? Do you know you're a minority in the room?
in that
You're the only person sitting at the table that doesn't wear glasses.
It's because I have contacts. Tricky. I think one of the reasons why we decided to go with the Vermont State Police contract was that there was a minimum requirement in hours in the last round of contracts. And I haven't seen this proposed contract, but can you tell me your rate and your minimum proposed hours?
I think the rate was at $51 an hour, and I think I based it on 8 hours a month. I think I went back to what you were doing before.
So is there no longer a minimum hourly requirement to get into a contract?
So, because I believe the contract last year was 12 hours.
It was a
It
12-hour
was a
requirement.
minimum
For the state,
requirement,
yes.
and that was actually, I think, the major deciding factor was the minimum requirement. I think I shared that with you in an email.
I mean, we'd still. I would still like to see the towns at some point take on more and more responsibility for their own policing, and I believe there is a bill currently at the legislature to start looking at saying towns need to start paying a portion of those costs. But no, we don't have it was something that we looked at for a while to help sort of stabilize my workforce. But in talking to a lot of towns, it wasn't working at this point. So, like I said, I think the town of Athens, it's less than, I think it's 3.5 hours a month. I mean, in the town of Windham, maybe even the same.
You got your ad machine or Going there.
Yeah.
Take care of what we got in our budget, divide it by 51.
So that 51 covers the cost of the deputy, the car, it's all inclusive, it's one rate. We don't charge you for mileage or anything else.
You said you were steadily, looking at these quarters, the traffic stops, the last 2 fiscal years. You said you were steadily increasing work, and so you were writing more tickets. But what did you mean you were steadily increasing work?
Well, what I was saying, if you look at those numbers over basically each half year, towards the end, the number of traffic stops in that quarter was going up.
Within the same number of hours, right?
Within the same number of hours. So what was happening is the deputies that we were assigning down here were getting more and more familiar with the community, so they knew where to sit to slow people down. They were getting more comfortable with your local traffic ordinances.
I see.
So,
that's a good. Okay.
So that's why I believe that it was steadily increasing. So the hours were staying the same, your rates were the same, but we were actually being more productive over that time.
Got it. Thank you.
I think part of that may have been, we also had, during that period of time, just promoted some folks to sergeants, so I had some new supervisors on the road that were really paying close attention to what the deputies were doing for work and productivity. You're asking us out here for a very specific reason, and we want to see that productivity.
So I'm thinking that's probably a competitive proposal.
Right, and I'm
But
wondering,
we-
like, if we're deciding between the Vermont State Police and the Sheriff's Office, how do we differentiate? Because it seems pretty similar, if you ask me, as far as providing service. Because what we have the Vermont State Police do is we've been asking for example, recently to do a lot of traffic stops in particular areas. And if they catch a burglary, they stop. They stop running the town's time and they go to the state police time. So,
Yeah.
it seems sort of similar to me, and I'm trying to figure out a reasonable way to distinguish the two services.
Well, the big difference is that if my deputies catch that burglary and the state police said, no, we're not gonna respond down there, and my deputies work for 2 hours on doing that burglary, or even an hour working on that burglary, it would have to be covered by your contract time. I can't stop Guilford time, put it on state time.
Of course, yeah.
But the biggest difference is, I think we're about 7. I talked to Lieutenant French in Westminster recently. I think they're at 68.50 maybe. Will be their hourly rate, or something around there.
Yeah.
So you get more hours for the amount of money that you have budgeted.
Yeah, we do. And so I think what we have from you and the Vermont State Police now are like proposals, different costs. And we also have statistics you missed this part of it, but we have statistics on crime over the same period of time and responses and stuff like that. So I think we have some really good material to look at and compare and to weigh, when we need to make this decision.
I know in the past I've made many calls to your office and got as quick a response as possible as far as traffic. And West Guilford is a place I don't think the state police know where that is. Sorry, guys.
No, the other thing is, and I think over the last few years, is that my office's relationship with state police has actually improved.
Yeah.
And so it's again, I just recently had breakfast with Lieutenant French. Just we speak on a regular basis, and the troopers and the deputies have a much better working relationship than we did a few years ago, and that was for a host of reasons, some of which that I admit were my fault. So, again, if you need any additional information, you'd like us to break this down, Peter, really the person who emails Lieutenant Anderson.
Yep, he's been great.
He's the
responding.
numbers
Yeah.
guy. In fact, I reached out to him today, I needed numbers for another town, and I couldn't get them to come up in the system. But, again, I mean, you get more hours of coverage for the same amount. We're all certified by the state, we all have the same authority. And again, we're pretty responsive if you call or something. One of the things I point out, I know it's now been a few years, but when Irene came through, the towns that we had contracts with, even though we were well over those hours, I put a deputy in every town we had a contract with, starting that morning, and some of them spent 16, 18, 20 hours straight in those towns. Because we didn't want people during that emergent situation to feel like they didn't have law enforcement immediately available. And so ultimately, we were able to get some reimbursement through FEMA for that, but it was, we felt we had those towns that we had good relations. We did it down here. I mean, one of my deputies was down here through the first couple of days, pretty much straight through.
Thank you.
And so I think that's,
Yeah.
you know, that's one of the things that we are able to do with the resources that we
I think
have.
the response time is a big key to this.
Thank you.
So again, if you have any other
Well, thank you for
questions,
sharing this
I'd be happy to
updated
come back,
information.
or Peter can.
Yeah, I mean, we think we just have to sit down and compare apples and apples.
Tomatoes and
And-
bicycles?
yeah. Thank you for coming, I really
no,
appreciate it.
not a problem.
Nice to see you again, too.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Stan's still dispatching, isn't
What's that?
he? Stan's still dispatching.
He's working tonight. He had to come in early when I dispatched.
So the next thing on the agenda is.
Have a nice day.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Renaming a portion, the class 4 portion of Stony Hill Road. Are you gonna read this for Lisa? Or
Yeah,
do we need to,
unless-
people,
You want to, unless other,
No,
if
please go
anyone's
ahead.
read it,
have people read the letter from Lisa?
the statement from Lisa regarding. Stony
Yes.
Hill.
No.
Can you refresh my memory, just one question about?
So,
Oh.
yeah, go ahead.
No, you can introduce it before I start asking questions, probably.
So the issue is that there's a portion of Stony Hill Road that is not accessible or identifiable for emergency
Identifiable, yeah.
purposes. So if they rename it and then they can number it, it'll be fine. And I believe they've contacted the people that are impacted by this.
Yep,
Danny-
as well as Dan.
And Danny has agreed
Yeah,
to it,
so
so.
Lisa spoke with Dan, she also has been, the issue was actually brought up by the Vermont E911 service when she was in contact with them. And because there's been some new, hunting camps built on a property down there that, are not locatable by emergency service personnel. And so, the E911 service asked if she would bring it up to the select board about considering renaming the road in, on the lower portion of the road, or one of the portions. In looking at it from her perspective, there's only one property that would be affected, one property owner that would be affected by renaming the lower portion of the road versus 22 on the upper portion. So the proposal is to rename the lower portion of Stony Hill Road South.
And what was the, I mean, we reached out to, or somebody,
There's
a
one-
representative that reached out to the one address change?
Yes, so
And their reaction?
I have heard nothing. So I sent letters to the property owners and to the residents who are renting the property, alerting them that this is a proposal. It has not happened, but that should they have questions or concerns, that they should. I gave every email, every possible way to contact us, and we haven't heard from them. So
Did they know it was gonna be on tonight's agenda?
they did indeed.
What is their intent with the road?
Whose intent?
The class 4 road, what is their intent? That's obviously would be the way to be coming in and out.
They're gonna come in from the same way,
Yeah.
Weather Hollow portion.
Whether
And all it is, all you're gonna do be like Belden Hill North and Belden Hill South.
Yeah.
You got the class 4 in between. That's all it's gonna be, just so they can say, come in Stony Hill South, so they ain't gonna go up Beats Road and then try to come down through that way.
Yeah. So there's no maintenance to be done on that road?
This is what we've been doing.
Dan, are you familiar with the homeowner at the bottom that will be impacted by this?
I don't even know who it is, so.
But we postponed this for a week, we tabled this for two weeks actually, so
Yes.
that they would have a chance to respond if they had an issue. So, is there a motion to name the class 4 portion of Stony Hill Road South, so that the new structures are locatable addresses for emergency service purposes?
So moved.
Gabby, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Gordon, thank you. Any more discussion?
Yeah, as long as they don't intend to go in and start improving the road, no.
All in favor?
Oh, wait a minute, Gordon
asked. Yeah,
What do you mean by that, Dick?
Well,
I
class
don't
4 roads
follow.
are
A class 4 road's a class 4 road.
road, yes, and, we have other class 4 roads in town that people have bought property and wanted the town to bring it up to class 3, or,
Okay.
and they can't touch that road without the town's approval.
But That is not related to the
But that would be a
renaming of
separate
the road. It's a
discussion,
separate-
right?
it's a-
On-
It would be a
That's not
completely
really
separate
renaming
motion.
the road, but I mean,
Yeah.
if they have,
Okay, I see what
You're
you're,
nipping it in the bud.
yeah.
you're just putting it out there.
We're putting it out there,
Okay.
right, yeah.
Thank you.
So we had a motion, we had it seconded. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No, thank you. I believe we have no old business this evening. The first item under discussion and updates is that the Broadbrook Community Center has requested a letter of support from the select board. And, shall I read this? Are people? This is to Sarah Coffey and the board. We are pleased to write this letter of support for your organization. The Broadbrook Community Center is a grassroots nonprofit organization created to purchase and revitalize the Grange Hall. The transformation of the building into a community center was prioritized by the Guilford residents during a process initiated by the Vermont Council on Rural Development to help the town choose projects to meet its most pressing needs. The Guilford Selectboard fully supports the Broadbrook Community Center, its mission, and its proposed purchase and renovation of the Grange Hall as a future community center. It is excited for this new nonprofit to conserve and preserve the Grange building so that it can continue to be a centerpiece of Guilford life, serving as a civic center and arts venue, and to host events in partnership with other community-based organizations, including the Guilford Library, the Guilford Recreation Commission, the Broadbrook Grange, Vermont Performance Lab, the Conservation Commission, and the Guilford Farm to School program. The rehabilitation of this historic building at the center of our town is of key importance to us and to the community. We are extremely grateful to the BBCC for its efforts to create a place that is accessible and welcoming to all in the community. So I just wanted to make sure that that letter was acceptable to people. I don't know if we need a motion for me to sign
I
it
thought
or.
it was excellent.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is that the Vermont Community Development Program.
I think you probably ought to have a motion for that.
You do? Okay. Would you like to make that motion?
Make a motion, we support the BBCC.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Abstain.
Abstain.
Sure.
On all the tough issues, I abstain.
So I just wanted to advise that CCCG, the Community Collaborative for Guilford, has been awarded through the town of Guilford a planning grant in the amount of $30,000. And this is for the feasibility study to understand the physical and financial feasibility of a social services facility located in the village of Algiers. And so we're kind of pleased about that. CC4G. So just wanted
You know what that is?
Yeah, they've come through a number of times. Remember, it's
Yeah.
Related to the church, or it's affiliated with the church, and they're
It was
looking at
actually
Ellie
the
presented.
second of the three priorities that were
Oh, okay,
identified at
yeah,
VCRD.
yeah,
So-
okay, yeah.
Any discussion about that?
No, I think it's great.
We actually talked about it in relation to Peter's job description a few weeks ago. Select board appointments, go for it.
Oh, it's just a reminder, this list is online for all of you guys to look through. All of, it's not highlighted online at the moment, but everything I've highlighted here are all appointments. Some of them will be our elected positions, and others are appointments that the select board will have to make after town meeting.
And some of them are done during town meeting day.
That is correct.
So we generally make the appointments that we need to make in March. Am I correct on that?
Yep.
And it's just bears thinking about the appointments that we have and if we want to continue them, just to familiarize yourselves in advance with what's there.
Yeah, just as-
Notice who's really paying attention.
I thought Justice of the Peace were.
Elected.
They're elected, they're
Are
elected.
they
Yeah,
in
some
the
of
ballot?
these are elected, some are not. And have a
They
question in
were.
their statement.
They were the last
in the last
Oh, that's right.
on the ballot.
That's right. So it should be updated in the book already, right?
Yep.
Okay.
One thing you might want to consider doing before that first meeting after the select board meeting is contacting some of the appointments that you'll make that first time, because there may be some people who are not interested in serving again, and we often get to that place where people go, oh, who knows, yes, let's ask John Christensen to do it again, for example, and he might say, no, I feel like I don't want to serve anymore. So it might not be a bad job for Peter
Yeah.
to just get in touch with
Right,
people.
no, I
Great
think
idea.
you're prepared
Absolutely.
to do that, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Thank you, Ian.
Thanks, Amy.
The next thing on the agenda is post pre-town meeting discussion and town meeting prep.
Not the
I-
LPs.
So what I did was take our prep sheet that we had for last week, and at Ann's suggestion, Ann reminded me that the moderator reads the articles and then a select board member will make the motion. So I took the liberty of assigning people motions to read, and if you like that, that's good, and if you don't like that, please let me know. It's basically the same thing that we had for the town meeting, which you missed, but,
Right.
other, just that, Rick will read them and then we will make the motion and somebody will second them and then and Troy, you just did such a nice job of talking about delinquent taxes that I thought you might.
I'll take Article 13 because I like the number 13. It's my favorite number.
I want the highway.
You can
I
have
was
mine
gonna say,
if
do
you
you
want.
dig the highway?
I just can't take the highway. I worked on that so much with Danny. You can have it, Dick, if you want it.
I've always done the highway.
I'll give.
I'll give it to you. I'll
Arm
change
wrestle
it.
for it.
Dick, give me that page. Give me that page.
Wait a minute, I thought Article 11 was moved off the floor for the fire department.
I don't know. That's,
I don't think the select board moved that.
Yeah, usually the fire department moves it.
Right.
Yeah.
Dick, you're gonna move this? Get me out of work.
No, you can take Article
Sheila,
10.
another just comment about that, as long as you raised my name. I think if the people who are moving the articles, at least initially, feel ready to talk about them as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that if there are questions, you certainly can defer to another select board member, or Peter or Dan, but to be ready to, do that initial response is a good thing too. So rather than just reading it, or.
Yeah. Once it gets by the general and highway and whatever, it's usually the organization that.
Yeah.
So who wants to take 8?
Is that the Sevco one?
Yep.
All you have to do, we don't have to talk about it.
Yeah, but what Ann's saying,
It's a
we
subject.
may have to. I don't really
No,
want to be
we don't.
associated.
because
They're there
they're-
to answer
yeah,
questions.
They're gonna be there to
Okay, they'll
answer
be there.
questions.
Yep.
All-
Fair
we
enough.
just have to make the motion.
Yeah, there will be 2 people from Sevco there to answer questions during that
I
time.
think it's 7, it's not 7.
Sorry, Sevens. Yeah,
We're hoping somebody from SEPCA's there.
Yeah.
Remember all
Yeah.
that?
Yes, I
Did you
do.
find out that other figure was on there?
Yes.
Yes.
Peter found it.
Yep.
And we have to raise these articles
Because
because
they're
they went through
petitions.
the
Yeah.
the petition motions,
mhm.
and we're all
Right.
approved.
Right.
Thank you. Just want to make sure I understand.
Any more questions about this?
Will Article
Certainly, I'm
12,
happy to answer more
will
questions.
Article 12, will I run through each one of these?
No,
Okay.
No, people.
Last
what-
year we didn't. but-
What will
No.
happen, what normally will happen is you'll move it, someone may second it, they could second it off the floor, but someone could say in that, I'm just using this for
Yep.
example.
Yep.
Somebody could say, I wanna bump Brattleboro senior meals up to 500 versus 3,500, $350. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or they may want to say, all right, we don't want to pay one.
Right.
You know, it all depends on how the floor wants to run it through.
Thank you.
But like in Article 12, you're going to have to be prepared to amend it on the floor.
Right.
To remove
Yeah.
that visiting nurses and hospice and have the new number.
They have
Ready
to,
to go.
they have to
Yep.
specify if they're gonna
Yep.
amend it. what they need
Right,
to
but we need,
It's really not, it's just we're combining the two, correct?
no,
No,
No.
because see, up top,
Well, I can
at
go over it,
Article
Peter.
7, yeah.
Yeah, I started explaining to you before.
Yeah, we
this
went
meeting,
over it
and
quickly,
so
but
I'll
I haven't
just,
seen the numbers.
yep,
so.
I'll just talk to him later about it.
Cool. All right.
Thank you, everybody.
We'll
So,
be fine as long as Ann doesn't ask about
I did say at the beginning of the meeting that I was gonna insert random moments of appreciation, and my first one is to say that, beginning Friday and running through Sunday morning, I had probably every 2 hours an emergency alert email regarding ice dams and flooding. And I checked with Dan, and Saturday night, when the rest of us were with our families and friends, he and his crew were out checking roads and waterways to make sure that everything was passable and safe.
I was the VFW.
It was dark. Yeah, well, he wasn't. And then I actually think that there aren't that many people in town who know that you guys are out there working on these things when we're not aware of it. And I just wanted to say thank you on behalf of the select
We get
board.
paid to do, we get paid to do a job, so.
Well,
But it's much
Thank you
appreciated
for
by the
doing it.
town.
I think it'd be great to say that at town meeting where you have a lot of people.
notes, yeah, I'm gonna do that again.
Yeah, good.
So they dedicated the book to.
I
the
know.
guys, you know.
So Dan, do you wanna give us your general update for the highway now?
We pulled the wing plow and changed off the grader, we started hauling some gravel and trying to get some roads smoothed up, but when you gotta wait until 11:30, 12 o'clock before you can go out and start grading any roads, you don't get much done in the afternoon, so. But we will be out trying to get potholes smoothed up, and, right now, I don't think I could eat my words, but if things stay the way they are, I don't think we're gonna have much mud. I mean, some of the places are, you know, some of the places where I graded today were just like grading summertime.
Really?
You know, they were hard and, you know, dry.
And we do have this on tape.
Well, I mean, hey, it's, you know, like I
Yeah.
said, we'll still have your cold spots. But, you know, right now, everything looks pretty decent, because when we were out Saturday night, of course, that fog would
Yeah.
suck the frost right out of the road, and it was pretty foggy in places, and, in fact, all weekend, it was lifting it right out, so I mean, some of the places on Green River Hill that I did today where the road was all cracked, I mean, at one of these places where we always have our normal, I was surprised, and I dug fairly deep and bladed it off, and usually when you do something like that, it'll draw the frost right out of it, and as of when I come back off the hill this afternoon, it was still holding up good, so,
That's great.
but,
Hopefully.
basically, that's about what we're, you know, just getting ready to do our spring work, so.
Don't put the plows away.
Oh, we ain't gonna put the flowers in. But,
No, you know we always get snow on town meeting
It's actually forecast for next Tuesday.
what's that?
Snow.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it ain't the first time we've had a big snowstorm on down
Oh,
here.
gosh.
Or ice meeting, or need a generator or something. Anything else, Dan?
No, just everything was so far as, we've had some minor issues on some of the equipment, but I mean, it's, luckily with, a lot of it's been under warranty, so.
I think that's good and bad.
You know, you're gonna have breakdowns, you're gonna have stuff go wrong anyway, but I mean, but everything, knock on wood, is holding up good so far, so.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So for under finances, my second moment of appreciation, and that goes to Peter and the town office staff for getting the financials to us well in time to look at them over the weekend and before tonight's meeting, so thank you.
Yes,
And
you're
please thank
much
Ellie and
appreciated.
Everybody, Penny and Pete and Ellie. Is, Troy, are you gonna do as your swan song warrants?
Man, you guys put me on the spot. I come in and be quiet tonight.
I'm
I would
ready
like to
do it.
make-
I'm sure he is.
He just
I
wouldn't
would
get
like
one
to
last
make-
weekend.
You haven't heard nothing yet, but. I would like to make the following motion that we pay payroll for week ending 2/19 for $6,609.86. Payroll week ending 2/26/17 for $7,765.48. Expense warrant 17/16 for $14,890.07. Expense warrant 16DP for $822.28 for a grand total of $30,087.69.
Second.
Thank you, Dick. Any discussion? Any significant invoices that anybody wants
Just
to?
a couple of invoices that jumped out was fuel oil and stuff like that. It was around 38.
Salt, yeah, there's
Salt,
salt, a
again.
couple batches of salt.
Yep. So
Everything. Other than just
That's-
little expenses that.
that's it. Little expensive repairs here and there, stuff like that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Under communications, we have grand list certification.
Yep, so apparently this comes through every year. And it's basically, you guys are signing off saying that under provision of 32 VSA section 4157, that there are no appeals pending from the action of the listers nor suits to recover taxes under the protest as of this date.
Do we have to,
So
I suppose I need a motion.
you need a motion to sign that off.
Do we have a motion to sign the grand list certification?
So moved.
Dick,
Second.
Gordon, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll pass this around. David Lauzon letter? Lauzon?
Lauzon. So, David Lauzon, a resident of Guilford, sent a letter and he would like it to be directed to the select board and, says, "Dear Select Board, I've been subject to at times beyond what is normal or sound by way of dirt bikes, fireworks, and some sort of explosions that come close to rattling my windows. Frank Willard, who bought the place across the road several years ago, immediately put in a dirt track for dirt bikes that are extremely loud, ride for hours on end, many times more than one. Last fall, a bike race was held where there were approximately 100 cars in my estimation, with many riders and extreme noise starting around 10 a.m. lasting approximately 7 hours. Trying to work outside in my yard required ear protection. On 1/27/17, the first explosion went off at 2 p.m.
I'm
along-
sorry, hang on one second, because we've got another conversation going on here, and I'm not quite, I think we might not be hearing.
You should just have to sign 4 of them.
4.
There's 3 over here. That makes the 4th one. And then you have to sign that.
Please continue.
On 1/27/17, the first explosion went off at 2 p.m. along with fireworks lasting until 8 p.m. I reported this to the state police and I'm not sure if they ever came down. I tried to follow up with them and never got back to me, and did say that both are illegal in Vermont. These sounds I've never heard before except for when I was in the military. Luckily, my heart is still strong, but it was tested this day. I feel the town is under obligation to do something to protect residents from beyond normal everyday sounds and activities. I know they have certain rights to their way of life, and what about mine? Any help from the select board would be appreciated. Respectfully, David Lauzon.
I'm gonna be the guy, the stupid guy to ask the question, what is the town's responsibility in something like
We
this?
don't have any ordinances. We don't have
So-
no noise. We have no noise ordinance, so
Right.
he's doing the right, the gentleman who wrote the
Raising the
letter is
issue.
doing the right thing by
And-
calling the police, particularly if he thinks there's illegal activity going on, like fireworks.
Commercial activity too, right?
How do you figure?
He's saying there's a
If he's
dirt
got his dirt bike races going on.
That's-
He could invite friends over and
We
run
know
up
zoning,
and down on his
yeah.
own property all day long.
So it's only gonna be under,
I could be complaining that my neighbor's running a chainsaw for 6 hours. I don't like the noise of the chainsaw.
Yeah. And
Unfortunately,
as far as the noise goes, did we go through a noise thing a few years ago where that we, in I believe 85 is the decibel level, that anything above that can be considered noise, but if you call up and say somebody's making too much noise, well, we can do that again so we can see if it's above the,
Right.
so there's no, I talked to Dave, I meet him quite often, and I talked to Dave about it, and I said, the best thing you got is law enforcement on that, because it is, some of the stuff they're doing is not legal, and
Well, it sounds to me like the only thing he has, the only recourse is law enforcement. That there's no, if there's no sound in ordinance and we have no possibility of asking for permits or anything like that, you know, I'm sorry, but
yeah.
that's kind of a,
I'm wondering, we certainly talked about a noise ordinance.
We did,
And I wonder if it might be something to consider, pros and cons, if it's, I don't know how hard they are to enforce, and if it becomes just an empty exercise, or if it could be helpful in a situation like this. I feel for Dave, that sounds tough.
I don't know how you'd enforce it.
Well, you'd have to have it built into the ordinance, but that would require manpower, and getting back to Sheriff Clark's, you'd have to build in probably finances for enforcement.
Yeah.
I did call VLCT about a noise ordinance, and they said there are many towns in Vermont that do have them, but from their experience, it's next to impossible to enforce. Because first of all, you have to prove what the noise is, then you have to prove how loud it is, and when it occurs. And personally, I don't believe the town has the resources to invest in that kind of equipment to monitor that.
I mean, the fireworks is one thing.
Yeah,
They're illegal in the
They're
state of
illegal.
Vermont. Certain ones are illegal in the state of Vermont. The ones that go airborne and boom. I mean, I think the ones that jump around on the ground and just make a little pop, I think they're legal.
from what Dave said to me, he said it was way beyond fireworks, the explosives that were going off. So they're making their own charges somehow, It's not hard to do that these days.
No, you can get it right off the internet.
Yeah. So that's the issue, is the explosive type of stuff.
Do you know if is it happening regularly or specific, like is it Saturday afternoon,
Well,
where we can maybe say, hey, ask during our patrol hours to.
Yeah, they're not there all the time, but they're going to be at some point.
What do you mean they're not there all the time?
These people that bought the place.
Yeah, they're
They're
not.
not. That's not their full-time residence.
No, they're not full-time residents yet.
it might be possible for Dan to, David to ask them to be good neighbors and to at least alert him when they're gonna have big events or something like that. So that, just to reach out in a neighborly fashion.
Yeah. I'm not sure that, to contradict what you said a little bit, Troy, that if he's having a paid race type of thing, that it's legal to do.
Oh, yeah, if it's a paid thing, yeah. There's a
As
difference.
I understand,
between
it was not just a bunch of kids riding.
Okay.
It was an event of,
Then he needs an Act 250 permit.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was just like,
That sounds like a
The
legal
state police thing, yeah.
state police
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah.
That they should be involved in something like that.
So
Yeah.
I'm hearing that at this point, there's nothing we can do unless we wanted to take on a noise ordinance, but I don't, I think for one type of situation, it probably doesn't make sense to do something like that.
And Dave agreed with me, and I said, I said what you said, the noise ordinance is about impossible to enforce, number one, and I said, you're punishing the whole town for what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, Dave, they're down in that area, you're kind of down in a valley anyway, so, I mean, it does, oh God, does it ever.
Yeah.
So maybe we can just write them back and say, unfortunately, we have no ordinances. We encourage you to continue to call Vermont State Police. However, if you notice it's a regular or
Yeah,
consistent thing, we can ask the Vermont State Police to do it during our patrol hours.
Yeah.
The other thing is, you could, if he had any proof that it was a paid event, then he could, pursue an Act 250 complaint. he would have every right to.
Yeah. That was my understanding, it was a bait event.
Yeah.
Wish I wouldn't down there written one.
So, I think maybe you can follow up a little bit with
Sure,
Dave and,
I'll follow up.
thank you.
Tell him my heart goes out to him, but
Yeah.
there's not a whole lot we can do right now, but it's, yeah.
It's interesting for me to hear, Peter, what you said about the noise ordinance. I've always thought it'd be good to have one, but the research you've done shows that it might not, it's like a paper dragon.
Yeah, it is.
And relate that to the bridge under the 4-ton ordinance, 4-ton weight limit, and I asked the sheriffs about patrolling that, and they said you gotta have somewhere there with a
Yeah.
scale, you gotta, to enforce it, you just can't say, well, that weighs more than 4 ton, I'm gonna give you a ticket, so it's, yeah.
Now, the noise problem, I mean, they need to come down there at that moment with a decibel reader and
Exactly,
catch
yeah, and then
them,
they gotta, yeah.
which odds are unlikely.
My chainsaw puts out 140 decibels plus.
You're gonna be in trouble.
Huh?
So for my other random moments of appreciation, I wanted to mournfully say that this is Troy's final select board meeting, and he's not running for re-election.
Unless I write you in.
I've
That's
heard,
right. You haven't heard about that?
I started a campaign on your
three
behalf.
people. So I just wanted to say that I first met Troy as an opponent and then as a colleague on the select board. And from the beginning, Troy, you've been an incredible mentor to me and a really rock-steady co-chair. Your remarks are pithy and to the point, and I trust you absolutely. There are times when you're thinking way ahead of us, for example, with Windham Solid Waste or about town meeting or something like that, and that's also greatly appreciated, and we're gonna miss you.
I appreciate it.
I'm gonna ask people in a minute, I'm not quite finished. I wanted to, I hope you sort of keep us in the know about what's going on with your Combat Veterans Motorcycle Association. I think that's a pretty new thing that you're taking on.
It is.
And I think that, can I just share what the mission of that group is?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. It is to help veteran care facilities provide a warm meal, clothing, shelter, and guidance, or simply to say thank you and welcome home. And I think this is so consistent with who you are, Troy, and I want to say thank you. So thanks a lot.
I appreciate it.
And I do want to ask other people if they have anything else they'd like to say tonight.
I do, but I can't say it on the camera.
Don't be afraid.
Anne,
Well, I just
Anne,
wanted-
thank you for coming
Yeah,
tonight for this.
I wanted to just be here because Troy and I sat at this table together, Dick, for many, many years. I've known Troy for longer than that, for a long, long time. We used to pitch bales of hay together on wagons.
Yeah, we did.
And I just appreciate your service to this town so much. I always appreciated, as Sheila said, your counsel. You would buoy me up and I would calm you down, and we balanced off pretty well. And I just want to thank you for your service to the town. And this is a little just certificate with a little gift on behalf of me and the present select board members. And happy birthday.
I wondered which one you guys were trying to say that.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
The things it takes to learn around here. And as the new guy, sitting across from you for a year, and I've had these discussions with you from time to time, but I've greatly appreciated your mentoring with me and talking to me about things as they pop up with that, but hopefully won't stop, that you're still going to be a good
We're going to be
and
paying
you're
your visits to
sounding.
the closet.
But as I said to Troy a while back, for me, Troy brings a perspective to this select board that is going to be so sorely missed, in my opinion, because you do speak your mind.
I do.
But it's level-headed, and it's with the intentions and with the town, the best interest of the town all the time. So, I'm going to miss you as the new guy. I'm sorry we didn't have more time together, and I hope I didn't run you out.
No, not at all.
So anyway, I hope to still see you from time to time in a chair in this room. So.
Yeah, you see, I'll go by and blow my horn on the bike or something like that.
But thank you for
Thank you.
my time with you anyway.
And I was gonna say, I echo all those comments, and It was Troy who taught me how to do the warrants.
You know who it's gonna be doing next week?
Apparently. And I think that, you know, I appreciate Troy's passion, and I think it's I like that you were, when you speak your mind, you speak it. And I appreciate that, and I trust your opinion, and I've relied on that opinion a number of instances, as well as your historic knowledge. I think you really tried to pass on, at least to me, and I'm sure to Gordon, because that's really invaluable.
Right.
So, I'll miss you.
Thank you.
You gotta get somebody else to give you candy now, huh?
Been a pleasure, Troy.
Thanks, Danny. I'll still see you.
Wait, okay, so we're not quite finished. So, the other thing I wanted to say is this year, we're fortunate to have 4 people running for 2 open seats on the select board. And I think this says something remarkably positive about our community. But it also means that tonight, we don't know whether or not Dick is going to be returning for his 73rd year as select board member. So, in case you're not in your usual corner, on March 13th, Dick, I think everybody here also wants to express appreciation to you for all of your years of service to the town.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna jump on that bandwagon. I'm gonna say it because I'm not afraid of the camera. So, I was first elected back in '06, March of '06. And I think I made it to 1, maybe 2 meetings. And the only people knew that when I got my orders to go serve my country was the wife and the school. And I think I came in and I told you and Calvin, and the look on Dick's face was like priceless. He's like 40-something years old. He's like, you better watch your 6. So, me and Dick have sat here, we've butted heads, we've laughed, we've been out in many a number of nights running the roads and stuff like that. And I've learned a lot from Dick. I learned a lot from Ann. I think I still have some claw marks in my thigh for me to calm down. But it's been a privilege to serve with you, all of you, and I appreciate it very much. So.
Thank you.
Well, I'm hoping that, you know, maybe you'll be sitting right here. I may change though. I may like that seat. It's away from the camera a little bit. And see, I learned, all right. Yeah. It takes me a little while, but I figured it out. There's a reason Troy's sitting
Bring
here.
candy, bring candy.
I can do that. I can do that. Fireballs, now I know where to get them. But, I mean, same for me with you. I'm, you know, I think it's a premature conversation, but thank you for, you know, your guidance, obviously, in my time on this.
I hope to be sitting here.
I'll echo all of this. Dick and I have served together many, many years. We shared many laughs. We glared at each other a few times, but we what I always enjoyed with Dick is that we could agree to disagree, and it was respectful.
That's right.
And I think you have done a huge service to this town. I'm sure you will continue to.
Absolutely.
My heart for this town always will be. Well, probably was the VA now. That's
I was gonna be one of these.
Yeah. In the rear view. Oh, man.
Anybody have anything else to say?
If you want to know what you got, Troy, just say.
Oh.
We got him a
Sorry,
gift certificate to Agway. I looked into getting a peach tree to go with your other ones. It's too early in the season,
And
but
you
I
need
got a
2.
certificate so that you could get one or another one to go with yours, or a pear tree,
Thank
or
you.
whatever you'd like. So that's what that.
Maybe another peach tree makes more cobbler.
Yeah.
There you go.
Hopefully we'll get some peaches this year.
Yeah. So I believe at 7:29 we can adjourn. Oh,
I've
sorry,
got
Troy, do you have one more thing?
I spoke with Mark from the Guilford store today, and I just want to put it out there a little early since town meeting day is 7 days away. The menu for town meeting day will be 2 soups. There'll be a meat soup and a vegetarian soup. with salad and rolls,
Great,
okay? So,
thank you.
he didn't give me a price or anything like that, but that's what the menu is
He
for.
told me the price will be the same as last year.
Okay, there you go. So,
Awesome, thank you for
Thank
doing
you, and
that.
thank you for dealing with the Conservation Commission and organizing all the tables and.
yeah.
I think in terms of desserts and stuff, it's just the bake sale stuff, right?
Yes, the fire department's doing a bake sale and everything like that. They're just, if you ask for a table, just when you come up there, just look at the tables and it'll have the names on it. Monday night will be given a very long week, so.
Yeah, just one thing. Did we skip the GCS liquor and tobacco license? Or did
Ooh,
I sign
hey.
that without
When
knowing?
you said that, that's what I was gonna ask. Thank you, Gabby.
Thank you, Gabby.
No, Mayor, sorry.
I'm like, I could have signed it.
So there are both here.
So I will make the motion that we sign the Guilford Central School. Guilford Country Club. It says GCS.
The Guilford Central School liquor license.
Your last action on
Mr. G is not.
Oh man, Mr. Staley, please don't watch this run. I would like to make the motion that we approve the Guilford Country Store liquor and tobacco license.
Second.
There is
Go
a
ahead.
page on the top for all of you to sign, and then there are 2 pages for the chair to sign.
Right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Several
Thank
years ago, somebody in the town of Brattleboro put an article in the Reformer that there were 3 bars in Guilford.
Whoa.
I went all over trying to find them. I couldn't.
I can't find one.
Troy, you moved that one.
I did.
And I second.
Thank you, Gordon.
At that time, there was a store in the Bridge House.
Sorry, where's the second place to sign?
So there's one
This
page,
one,
and
yeah.
then you need to sign here.
Oh,
But you're the only one. on
You're the only one on that page, and then there's, so that's for the liquor license, and then the
Mhm.
page afterwards is the tobacco license. Right here.
okay.
Are we first town meeting day?
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
Penny has already said that.
Well, I know, but
Yeah.
we weren't first.
No, it got confused at the pre-town meeting, but Rick has already confirmed that, it's gonna be
So
the
just the top
school
one.
first and then, I mean, us first and then the school.
Madam Chair, it's my last one.
I know.
Adjourn.
Would you like me to adjourn the meeting at 7:30 PM?
I just made a motion to adjourn.
You
I made a
adjourn,
motion.
I'll second
you'll
it.
second it? All in
With
favor?
honor.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.